Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we will be covering a very interesting topic. What will fly first? Or more important, will you fly in an autonomous aircraft first or you will drive in an autonomous vehicle first? So we have three broad questions in this respect. Which one was obviously which will come first, autonomous vehicles versus planes. The second topic we'll cover today is the AI used for autonomous cars and autonomous flying. And the third is which will have a bigger impact, whether it's more impactful for aircrafts to be autonomous versus autonomous vehicles. Well, let's start with number one. Which will come first, autonomous vehicles versus planes? So first of all, we want to define what do we mean by autonomous itself. We may have all heard about autonomous Teslas, but we all know that Teslas are still not autonomous. And we have been saying that for a very long time. Autonomous, here, when we're talking about autonomous or self-driving, what we really mean is that there is no human intervention in making decisions about driving or flying. So let's use that definition for today for describing something that's moving and it's autonomous. Let's start with the cars first. Although I will give you the final answer. Planes are already autonomous. End of discussion. And it has been autonomous for a very long time. But we want to talk a little bit more about why I said so. So let's start with the harder part first, which is autonomous driving. And when we say autonomous driving, here we are talking about autonomous level 5 driving, where there is no input from the driver for a car to be autonomous or to be driving. There are companies that are trying to do that. Tesla, as I said, is a good example that they're trying to do that. They've been trying to do that for a very long time. There are other companies like Waymo from Google who actually are really doing things that are closer to level 5 autonomous driving, which is what autonomous for us means. They use all sorts of technologies from LiDAR to computer vision to achieve that, but it's a hard problem. None of the cars available or vehicles available today are actually autonomous. And I don't believe they will be autonomous anytime soon because it is a hard problem. While on the other hand, planes have been autonomous for a while now. The term for autonomy when it comes to aircraft is what's really covered under autonomous flying rules or AFRs. And one of the key components that have been there in the bigger jets like 787 or some of the jets from Airbus and Boeing, you will usually fly commercial, is CPDLC, or in other words, controller pilot data link communication. In simpler words, it's a data link between the ATC or the ground control and the aircraft, where the ground control can actually fly everything and make all the decisions from the ground and fly the aircraft. And CPDLC is not really something that you will include in a smaller 4 to 5 passenger jet, but they have been there for a very long time. And if needed, you can do that, although it may be cost prohibitive right now. But at the same time, they have been there in the bigger jets. So what that means is jets have been autonomous for a very long time. So once you press the switch or once the ground is in control, the plane could be fully autonomous. It will take off in a fully autonomous fashion. It will be in cruise, which is more or less autonomous already, and it will land in a fully autonomous fashion. In general, when we're not talking about aircraft which has this special feature or this special instrument, it's a box like this that's there in the aircraft. The CPDLC, usually the cruising part of any aircraft is more or less autonomous already, unless the pilots need to take over because there is bad weather, so it needs to talk to the ATC to figure out what is the other route. But most of the time, the cruise phase is more or less autonomous. The landing and takeoff for now is not generally available to be autonomous, but there are things like Autoland from Garmin where the landing can be fully autonomous. Usually that thing is only used for emergencies, but my prediction is that that will be a standard feature in all aircraft, which you can use anytime. Unless some of the assumptions or some of the underlying infrastructure is actually not met. Underlying infrastructure has mean that that airports needs to have a map. It needs to be digitized. It should be in the internal systems of the aircraft, and there is ATC already there. But if that's the case, you can land in a fully autonomous way. Another aspect to look at it is that it's a hard problem for a car to be autonomous. Simply put, I mean, common sense. There are a lot more obstacles, a lot more complexities available when you're driving a car. There are cars of all shapes and sizes. There are pedestrians. There are roads that may not be marked. There will be obstacles, but none of those issues are in the air. So it's a much harder problem to solve anyways when it comes to ground than it comes to doing something in the air. And that's probably one of the big reasons that planes have been autonomous for a while. And this will only increase, where you will have even smaller aircraft that will have fully autonomous features. There have been tests around making some of the cargo planes fully autonomous, even the small cargo planes fully autonomous. But I don't. I will actually predict right now that in the next 3 to 5 years, you will have normal 5 to 6 seater jets that will be fully autonomous. Our second question was AI used for autonomous cars and autonomous flying. Now that is a very interesting part because when it comes to flying, one of the reasons flying has been so safe because the technology is being used there is tested not once, not twice, but many times. Even the system in place have backups and sometimes even backup to backup. Those sort of safety features we don't see in autonomous cars, although if you see Tesla's new fully autonomous driving chip in the board, they will actually have two chips on the same board, not because they want more compute, but as fallback. I mean, just imagine that if you're driving and one of the chips fail, the next chip could actually take over. Those things are much more common in aircraft. Actually, it's a standard. It's not really an option. It's a requirement from a safety perspective from FAA and the European counterpart. So what that also means is that AI to some extent is not widely used in autonomous flying. Most of these systems are much more rule-based, with some aspects of those calculations done using artificial intelligence, for example, calculating the route. But most of them do not actually use artificial intelligence, or at least not yet. On the autonomous car side, it is 100% based on artificial intelligence. Some of the sensors being used are LiDAR, which is more generally used in pretty much all the cars, or it's fully based on camera or computer vision. Tesla, for example, is betting huge on computer vision, where they want everything to be done using a camera, or all the detection, everything, all the decision making and autonomous driving being done via computer vision or camera, which I believe is also the right way to go, because that mimics a lot how we as human think and behave, and all the animals in that respect. Most of the animals, we don't have something like a radar where we use that to figure out where we want to go. All we have is a vision, and we look around, and that's how we make a decision. Other car manufacturers use LiDAR or radar in general terms, or a combination of both. The actual control system is obviously using artificial intelligence, and more specifically some sort of supervised learning or deep learning, specifically supervised learning with some flavor of unsupervised learning also in the mix. But most of the time they're collecting lots and lots of data, driving the cars on the real world to collect the data, to train their system so that the car itself is autonomous. With that, we will cover the last question, which I believe is important, which is which can have a bigger impact, autonomous vehicles or their flying counterparts? I believe there are some things that just humans should do, and driving on the road is one of those things. Unless the underlying infrastructure is sophisticated and standardized enough where you could actually have a fully autonomous car. So I don't believe autonomous vehicles will have any huge impact on the roads anytime soon. And I just don't buy those statistics that, autonomous vehicles will and are reducing the fatality rate. Any technology that we add from a safety perspective, it could be just making sure that everyone has actually the driver license on the road. Everyone have passed a good rigorous driving test, having better visual capabilities in the vehicle itself. Simple things like these will increase safety. But fully autonomous or autonomous vehicles are not really going to help in a big way anytime soon, because these technologies are just at a very early stage, very, very early stage. And even if we are able to do it, let's say in one of the developed nations like the United States or the UK, it will not generally be available. I mean, can you just imagine if you're going in the middle of even Scotland, for example, in the UK, or in a country like India, where you don't even have traffic lights, or you don't have normal lights, you can't expect your car to be autonomous. Just not going to happen. Flying, on the other hand, is a complicated piece of things. Flying or learning how to fly is not easy at all. It is a very sophisticated thing today, and I can tell you that because I am learning how to fly, and it is hard. It's not hard from perspective of the technology itself, but it's the aptitude of why do you want to learn how to fly. You are learning a lot of mechanical electronics things, so it's not that easy to do that, and that's why flying is hard. And the use case, the pain point is very simple. Most recently, I flew from San Carlos Airport to the Pacific near Highway 1 in a Half Moon Bay, and it took close to 5 minutes. And if you do the same thing driving a car when there's traffic, it will take you an hour and a half. The pain point is very clear that you could go much further with less time, less of an hassle. And that's why I think that autonomous flying would have much bigger impact than autonomous vehicle in the short to the midterm. Thanks, folks. This is all for today. Just a reminder, we are Skive and Robometrics Machine. We are building machines that deal with use cases ranging from aircrafts to healthcare. If you'd like to know more, or if you're interested in working with us, we are absolutely hiring both on engineering and non-engineering side. Please reach out. My email is aditya@skive.it. That's ADITYA@skive.it. Thanks, and I will see you next time.